Welcome to episode 40 of the Tough Draw Talks podcast. I'm your host, Brad Hughes. Appreciate you being along for the ride. Today, we are coming to you from Choctaw Casinos and Resorts in Durant, Oklahoma during the Durant Pro Rodeo. They have provided us an amazing location to record these podcasts, and we couldn't be more grateful for their involvement. Choctaw, celebrating the heritage of resilience and spirit. Choctaw Casinos and Resorts. Get away to it all. Before we get started, we appreciate the hospitality Choctaw has shown having us out, but also a very big thank you to our presenting sponsor this year, the Lane Frost brand. We appreciate everything Stetson and the Frost family has done for us here at Tough Draw in all our ventures, including this podcast. Be sure and visit lanefrost.com for some amazing hats, shirts, and everything Lane Frost. And to celebrate one of the greatest legacies rodeo and sports in general has ever known. Make sure and use our discount code TDT15 to save on your next order. Our first roll of the dice here at the casino gets us a heck of a bullfighter from Oak Grove, Missouri. He is a Lane Frost brand athlete that competes in BFO, UBF, and does a great job in cowboy protection both at PRCA and PBR events. None other than the man in red, white, and blue himself, Tucker Lane. Tucker, what's up, man? How's it going today?
Not much, man. Just big chilling on my weekend off, you know?
Oh, yeah, man. That was a mouthful getting into that. I apologize. Had to. Oh, man, here we go. But so you've listened to the podcast. We do some icebreakers and stuff like that, but we're going to do a little bit of a casino spin here since we're at Choctaw and mix things up. You ready?
I'm always.
All right. You walk up to the bar here at Choctaw. What's your drink of choice?
Man, I don't drink a whole lot. I probably I like a lot of soda pop, but if I'm absolutely trying to have a drink, I like Crown Apple with cranberry juice because Dad said cowboys shoot whiskey, but I'm a little fruity, so.
Very cool. No, I mean, when I walk up, I'm 9 times out of 10, I'm getting a Red Bull, so I hear you. All right. Are you superstitious, or do you have any pre-event rituals that you like to partake in?
I wouldn't say that I'm superstitious or anything. You know, I guess I make a lot of the other guys mad because I always try to break their superstitions or whatnot. You know, I got a buddy, like, every time I'm like, hey, good luck, he's like, why would you say something like that? But, I mean, you know, I guess the only ritual I have is I always call for a fighting bull the same way. You know, I kind of pace back and forth up against the shotgun chute to stay out of the middle of the arena because, like, sometimes there can be holes in the arena and stuff that can mess with your mind. So I just stay up against the chute, and then, you know, when I walk to the middle, I want the crowd clapping, and then as soon as I turn around, I want that fighting bull before I can change my mind. So
it's game on at that point. Is telling somebody break a leg, is that off limits too?
Most of the guys get pretty butthurt when you do stuff like that. But how I always say it is, you know how they say don't be that guy? I'm that guy.
You're that guy? All right. So in honor of, you know, poker, gambling, stuff like that, are you all in or are you a cautious player?
I'm typically all in. I always tell myself that I'm going to win or I'm going to die trying. Unfortunately, the last few months I've died a few times. So that's a figure of speech, obviously. But yeah, I try to lay it all out there, and I pay a lot of times with my body, but I always put on a good show.
Heck yeah, man. No, you definitely do. I've witnessed it in person many times. All right. They have a movie theater downstairs in the district, right? So what's your movie of choice if you can pick anything to put up there on the big screen?
That's a tough one. Recently, I'm a huge Marvel superhero nerd. You know, okay. I love all of the new MCU stuff and the superheroes. But if I absolutely had to pick one of all time, I would probably pick The Cowboy Way. I love Woody Harrelson.
Dude, that movie is so funny.
Yes, and
my gosh,
I feel like Woody Harrelson always plays the same character, but I always feel like he's playing me. So
the dancing, and all the things. Oh yeah, that's a great movie. So you're talking about superheroes. Who's your favorite superhero?
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man?
Yeah, and it changes from time to time, but like, you know, my outfit's always based on Captain America, but Spider-Man, he's a GOAT.
Very cool. My favorite superhero is Batman. Do you have any conjecture about is Batman a superhero or not?
No,
a lot of people give me crap about that.
No, it doesn't bother me. Me and my dad actually, like, just 2 days ago, were talking about if Spider-Man and Batman got in a fight.
Oh,
and it's like,
Batman.
Well, no, because, like, Batman uses the darkness and shadows and stuff. Spider-Man has a spider sense. He sees it all coming. So, got them every time.
All right. So this is kind of a staple question that I love to kind of throw out there before we get into everything. But what's the best compliment you've ever received?
Man, that's tough. I think the one that means most is just like, I was just told that I was really giving. I just try to remember where I come from. I learned how to fight bulls at a rodeo Bible camp. So I teach bullfighting at 6 or 7 rodeo Bible camps throughout the year to kids who are 12 to 18. And, we get size appropriate stock and we teach them the fundamentals and everything. So, it was I never thought I would get a compliment going and doing that stuff because I just really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But some of the staff members there just always make sure to let me know that I'm appreciated, and those always go a long way.
That's awesome. Heck yeah, man. That's awesome. And like I said, that's always a great question to just kind of dive right in. But you had just alluded to those camps and different things. How did you get into bullfighting? Give us a little bit of background about you and how'd you arrive at becoming a bullfighter, both, freestyle, cowboy protection. We'll kind of define the two in a little bit, but just in general, how'd you get into all this?
Well, my parents named me after Lane Frost to start. And so, as soon as I was old enough to know what that meant, I was extremely attracted to rodeo.
Yeah.
At first I didn't want to ride bulls. I wanted a rope. But my parents, we couldn't afford a horse, so I just started going and entering in the bull riding and in the calf riding, steer riding, stuff like that. And I got pretty good at it at a young age. We finally got a little bit of money. My parents bought me a horse, and I didn't get along with it. It throw me off and fall on top of me and everything else. So I was just like, this isn't it. So I started riding bulls and junior bulls, steers, all the way, and then got to like 16, and I'd been riding full-grown bulls for 2 years now in the high school rodeo, and I just wasn't getting it figured out. But to be fair, I wasn't bad, but the guys I was traveling with in my high school rodeo were guys like Creek Young, J.R. Stratford, Colton Hevelo, all guys who are killing it at the pro level right now.
Yeah.
So who knows if I was actually any good or not. I just wasn't any good compared to those guys.
Yeah. Well, that's a tall task to compare yourself to.
Right. So I went on and I tried bullfighting one time at a rodeo Bible camp, and as soon as I touched my first bull on the head, just lit my world up. I heard a guy say one time, the 2 most important days of your life are the day that you're born and the day you find out why. And that was the day I found out why.
Oh, wow.
I knew this is what I'm supposed to do. I love every second of it. All I can think about when I'm not doing it is how can I get to where I can do it again. Bullfighting is a full-time job, but it's not the actual bullfighting part. There's a lot of things that come with it in the business and the sponsorships and the social media and all of that stuff that you have to learn to do. And while all of that stuff can get to be a drag sometimes, I've never been upset with being in the arena and getting to do that part of it.
Absolutely, man. No, that's actually really cool. That's an awesome saying for people to really think about, figuring out that why. That's so cool, why you're here. All right, freestyle bullfighting, cowboy protection. So you started with bull riding.
Right.
So were you naturally drawn to cowboy protection first?
Absolutely. I didn't even know freestyle bullfighting was a thing.
Okay.
But at the same time that I was transitioning from bull riding to bullfighting, the bullfighters only had taken off. I remember sitting in class watching the BFO live stream where Ross Hill was doing a selfie with the live stream phone.
Yeah.
So it definitely caught my eye. But when I was at my first school, freestyle wasn't attractive because of that fear of calling for a fighting bull. Not too different from harp,
Yeah.
But whenever I got into it, my teacher, Dakota Knight, he just continued to push me to a level that I didn't know I could have.
Yeah.
And he was like, don't do it because you think you should. Do it because I think you should. And just trust that I know what you're doing. And I really did trust that he knew more about me than I did at that point. I was only 17.
Yeah.
So
just that wisdom.
Right. So that kind of, and he's not super much older than me anyway, but so he got me into that freestyle bullfighting, and I went down to my first competition in Mercedes, Texas. It was 16 hours.
Yeah.
And I ended up winning the bullfight and drawing some bulls that were pretty tough to get by, but I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And the producer of that bullfight, he's like my full-on mentor now. He gets all my videos and everything. His name's Robert Blue Jeans. He grabbed me afterwards and he was like, "Kid, this is he said, you've got it." He said, "Not very many guys come along that you just know instantly have it." He said, "But you do."
Yeah.
And he said, "You need to get into as many of them bullfights as you can and go out and make a name for yourself." And so that's kind of what I've been trying to do since 2018. I went out and I've called for world champion fighting bulls. I fought the Unicorn, I fought Hugh Hefner, and different bulls of just extremely high caliber. But I've drawn really good as well. When I went to my first Bullfighters Only event, I ended up in a round with Tanner Zarnetsky, Zach Call, and Dusty Tuckness, and just outdrew those guys. And so I ended up beating them. Yeah. And for me at my first event to beat Dusty Tuckness, who is arguably the greatest bullfighter ever, just really gave me the confidence to know that, like, I'm doing this right. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do. Like, you always feel that, but to get confirmation is really nice too. For me, it's always just been about controlling the bull. Mm-hmm. Just like Harp said, bullfighting is bullfighting. The best bullfighters in the world, you can just pick out a spot in the arena and they can move that bull to that spot. Yeah. Whether in freestyle, you're just moving a bull to your left or to your right, but in protection, you're dragging him away from a rider and everything like that. But it's all about getting in close to a bull and then controlling him. Yeah. And like, them bulls, they have attitudes and everything else. I always think of it as like playing tag with a 5-year-old. Like, as long as he thinks he can win, he's going to play. Yeah. But as soon as he knows he can't, he quits. Yeah. And so that constant enticement of, no, you can hit me. And then when you move out of the way the last second and you can feel their hearts drop because, they've been trained for millions of years that when they hit something, they win. Yeah. And for them to swing and miss, it makes me feel bulletproof.
That's cool. That's really cool. Makes you feel like a superhero, right?
Right.
You alluded to, so starting in Mercedes, 2018. Talk a little bit about some of your big successes. I know you've made the World Finals in both BFO and UBF.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about those and then some of your bigger events.
So that first year, I went to Ada. I ended up third in that event, and it paid like $5,000. Yeah. I had never had more than $500 in my bank account ever, and I won $5,000 that day. So I quit working for the amateur rodeos that I was doing. I probably had a few of them. And at first I was just like, hey, I need a couple of these dates off. And he was like, no, you either have to do all the rodeos or none of the rodeos. I was like, okay. So I quit working for that guy and went on just full-time freestyled. I went on to qualify for the BFO World Finals and the Ruffy Cup that year. I finished 9th in the world standings that year.
Very cool.
And that was just kind of my first rookie year. And one of the cool things, BFO came out with a poster for the finals that year, and it just said the world's best bullfighters. Mm-hmm. And the two rookies on there were myself and Chance Mormon. Oh, nice. And then like Chris Furr, Toby Inman, Ross Hill, Weston Rakowski, like just legends of the game are on this poster, and then right at the bottom is myself and Chance Mormon. And so just to be a part of that was really cool.
Which both of y'all are tearing it up now.
Right. I mean, Chance has gone on and won world titles now. But no, I pretty much finished 9th the first 2 years of BFO, and then the UBF kind of got started up, and I went to their finals. I finished 6th in those standings that year. And then 2021, that was kind of my big year where I started winning events that I was usually taking second and third at. In 2020, I won the most consistent award. Nobody made more championship rounds than I did.
That's awesome.
So that was a really big accomplishment for me.
Absolutely.
But the next year, like, I started winning those events instead of taking second and third, and putting a string together of just good performances and good bullfights. And I was third in the world standings behind Chance Mormon and Knox Dunn about a month before the finals. And ended up breaking my ankle at a college rodeo. Yeah. And so that's kind of, that was a huge setback there because, I worked so hard to try to win that gold buckle, and then it was right there, right where I needed it. I was hot at the right time, and then, God just had a different plan. So, but I learned a lot from that. I learned a little humility and about my identity and just got to be a stronger person because of it. So
absolutely, man.
I hope to get back to that one day. But as of right now, I'm just kind of just doing enough to make it to the next one.
Yeah, for sure. So, you kind of just were alluding to it about kind of where you're at right this second. I know just a couple weeks ago, there's been a video going around of you getting roughed up pretty good. What about some of the tough times, like tough fights? What's your mentality through that, and how do you get through those moments? And talk a little bit about any of the injuries you've had as far as like, the range and just kind of how you fight back to get back into it.
Well, I guess like when you talk about like difficult moments. It's being a bullfighter can be tough psychologically because you have to be a humble person, because the bulls, they don't care if you've won a world championship or if it's your first time. They don't care about that. But at the same time, you have to have this confidence and this cockiness of like, you're the meanest person on the planet. You have to believe that you can walk into the arena and be meaner than a bull, and you have to genuinely believe that. So it's kind of this fine line that you have to walk for your own mental health, and so it can be difficult to handle that. But once you get that handled, the thing about bullfighting is sometimes you do everything right, you still get hooked.
Yeah.
It's just a part of it. Getting hit is what you're gonna do. So learning how to have a short memory, controlling your emotions, and understanding that everything's going to work out and be fine.
Yeah.
That wreck that you were talking about, that was the first time I've ever had one get me up against the wall like that. And so for a brief second, I thought I was going to die. And then, but as soon as you come out of it, like, what I do wrong, how can I fix it? And then that's got to go on, because I'm going to have another fighting bull, and I'm going to have to go back into that same arena and do it all over again. And that bull specifically, like all the other bullfighters told me, hey, this one's bad. Like he's tough to fight, he's hard to handle. But the whole time I'm in there, like all I can think about is, well, he's never had to fight me. He's not going to see this coming. He's not going to see that coming.
It's kind of that mentality you're
now,
talking about.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
But I still had to go in, and I had to try to throw that first punch just to give myself a fighting chance.
For sure.
So, but as far as injuries go, I've had that was my elbow that just popped. I've had broken ribs on a few occasions, multiple concussions, a collapsed lung, a broken ankle. I had one step on my head one time, and it knocked me out. And when I come to, I had like a Looney Tunes bump on my head, and like it was growing out. So
all minor stuff.
Considering,
that's what you're getting at.
I mean, considering in 6 years, I've been extremely lucky with the injuries that I've had. So.
Yeah. So you talked about how you were rodeoing in high school with some of those bigger names that a lot of people will know, but like one thing that's super interesting you brought up is kind of the mental health and the mental side of it. How does that compare to the mentality for bull riding? Because I know that a lot of the bull riders we've had on have talked about kind of the mentality that they have to have. But how is it different when you're standing there and you're calling for them, and they're coming at you, and you're basically toying with them because that's what you're being scored on.
There's two big differences. One, it's a different kind of fear, because there's no whistle, right? When you go out and you do the bull riding, you have to have the same confidence going in there that you would have in a bullfight, where you have to believe that you're better than that animal, and you have to put the pedal to the metal from the time you get in the buck and shoot to the time the whistle blows. But when you hit the ground, it's game over. You're running away, and you're hoping that someone else comes in and takes a shot for you. There's nobody to come save us. In freestyle, the other guys are on the fence, and they're going to try to help out as they can because they don't want to see anybody die. But it's you and yourself. And then in protection, when I'm teaching my schools, I tell them, I was like, the only people who care about you are you and your partner. Yeah. That's it. No one's coming to save you if you go down.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of a different kind of fear when it comes to like worst case scenario. No one, those bull riders, like when you're at a good quality event like a PBR, PRCA, you're going to have good quality bullfighters to go in and take care of you. But there's no backup plan for the backup plan.
Yeah.
But with that, there's a different kind of control too. When I was riding bulls, there were a lot of times that I would get in a wreck and I would feel out of control. Where I was hung up, or I'd come down and I'd headbutted one, and I just felt like I was at that bull's will. Yeah. But in the bullfighting, you don't feel that way. You're on your feet. You're in a fight. You may get pushed and knocked down, but just because that happens doesn't mean that you can't fire right back. So, I think definitely pros and cons of that mentality on how they're different. I think that there's a lot of similarities between them, but they're not exactly the same. It's different.
No, that's great. I really appreciate you breaking it down like that. That's really cool to think about, and that visual for anybody that's ever watched it. It's you, it's a bull, and there might be some guys on the fence, but y'all are mano a mano, right?
Right, and no one's coming to save you until you're down. So
until you're in bad shape,
right.
And you got to have it anyway. You've alluded to this some, but I'd be interested to kind of hear your take in how faith plays a role for you personally, for bullfighting as a sport in general. different things like that, because obviously I know it's very important to you. But yeah, if you don't mind, just share a little bit with us about your faith and then kind of how you see that play out in bullfighting.
For me, it's incredibly important. I kind of, my parents fought a lot when I was growing up, and so like I kind of had a rough life at home, and so Rodeo Bible Camp kind of got to be this place where I could get away from all of that, and I started to find God in the arena over anything else. I didn't really find Him at home in my bedroom or even on the car rides, but when I was in the arena, like, I'm at peace. I wish I knew where it was, but there's a part in the Bible where he talks about how he was the wind goes by and God wasn't in the wind, and the hurricane comes by and God wasn't in the hurricane, and He was just there in the peace and in the calm. And that's what I find in the arena. It's calm and it's cooling, and to know that despite what I may encounter, I'm going to be okay because I know that I have my faith. Right? With my faith, it's been really simple. I am not always the best person. I know that I screw up. I know that I do a lot of things bad, and that's why I have to have Jesus. And that's why what He did on the cross is such a big thing for me, and I try to openly share that as much as I can, with whenever we're in those freestyle bullfights, I grab all of the guys and we pray before the introductions behind closed doors, and then just by living an example, I've been blessed to do some incredible things through those Rodeo Bible camps. I've seen lots of kids saved and baptized at those camps because they see it in our staff members. Yeah. And then not only that, but like after 20 some odd years, I took my dad to a Rodeo Bible camp and my dad was saved. So, just to cool. see the impact that you can have on anybody in your life just by going out and not preaching at anybody, because I am not a preacher. I barely know what John 3:16 says. But just by going out and living that example and knowing that and showing everybody, hey, yeah, it's going to be okay because I have Jesus. And then other people picking up on that and realizing that that's something that they want to have in their life is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you for sharing that, man, and amen to all of that for sure, because that's great that that's happened. So with the faith element of it, I know that a big deal, we mentioned this at the very beginning, but with you being a Lane Frost athlete, right, named after Lane Frost athlete, you know what Miss Elsie and Mr. Clyde do with the Bible, with Lane's Bibles. What does that mean to you? When you see that and you know that they do the ministry through that, and then also just personally for you being a part of the Lane Frost brand, what does that mean?
Well, to start on the faith side of things, it's been incredible to get to meet Clyde and Elsie through my partnership with Lane Frost, and Stetson donates lots of those Lane Frost Bibles to me to be able to give away to these kids at the Rodeo Bible Camp. So all of them kids can have free Lane Frost Bibles if they decide that they want to have them. That's a really cool thing that he does for me. But it's just been incredibly cool to see people do exactly what it is I try to do. And I think that there's so much more successful at it with me. I heard Miss Elsie at Rodeo Bible Camp that I was a student at. She shared, she was like, I don't care what reason somebody picks up a Bible, but if we can get it in their hand, we've done our job. The rest of it's up to them. And so, that's why I love those Bibles with Lane on them, because I remember picking my first one up because it had Lane on it and getting it signed by Clyde and Elsie. And that's what it was about for me. And that's how it started, and it turns into so much more. I have a secondhand story, so I don't know that you can quote it on me. But so I teach rodeo schools through Lyle Sankey and Sankey Rodeo Schools. I teach all the bullfighting at those. And Lyle Sankey, he tells a story of Lane about how when Lane was traveling to a rodeo, there was a hitchhiker. And Lane picked up the hitchhiker on the side of the road and just was like, hey, where you going? Took this guy on a ride and offered him a Bible. And the guy's like, no, I'm all right. That's not really for me. I just need a ride. And so he said that, Lane didn't push it or anything. He just had good conversation with the guy. And he said that then it was like a month or two later, he's driving down the road, picks up the same hitchhiker again. And he's like, hey, man, how are you doing? Picks him up, gives him a ride, offers him a Bible. He's like, no, I'm okay. I think it's all right. Well, so then fast forward, Cheyenne happens and Lane dies. Yeah. This guy's in prison for whatever his crime was. Yeah. I don't know that part of the story. The guy sees on the news that Lane had died and decides that he is going to finally read that Bible because Lane offered it to him so many times.
Oh my gosh.
And guy ends up getting saved. And like the only reason I've even heard this story is because they said that guy went through somebody to reach out to Clyde Nelsey's parents, and then somehow Lyle heard about it. So that is a secondhand story that I heard from Lyle Sankey.
Yeah.
So don't quote me on it. But it's just incredibly cool to see sometimes how we can be just such a little part of a huge plan.
Definitely.
But
Definitely.
But then to touch on the other thing that you asked about, being a part of Lane Frost brand, I think it is the hardest brand in the world to be a brand a partner with, or a brand ambassador or anything like that, because you're not just it's not a shirt. Like, that's a guy's name and likeness and a legacy, right? You're representing the most influential rodeo person in the history of ever. Mm-hmm. And so, you have to constantly be professional. You have to constantly watch what you say. You have to constantly do everything, because at any given moment, there can be a little kid looking at you, and you're wearing a Lane Frost shirt with a picture of Lane Frost on it. And if you're cussing, you instantly ruin a legacy. Not just you, not just your shirt that you're wearing, a legacy. And so it is an immense amount of pressure, but an incredible blessing.
Oh yeah.
And Stetson does so much for me. So
I mean, I echo the sentiments you're saying, because it's an absolute honor, obviously, not only with this, but doing the documentary and all that. Like,
right.
It's just, I mean, that's part of the reason it's taking so long, right? Is like, you have to do it right.
It has to be done right.
Yeah. And if it's, it's just, it's hard. It may never be done perfect, you know, but like, we're getting there. You've talked a lot about Lane, and this is something that talked to Harp a little bit about, but when you watch back or you see Lane and Cheyenne and like what happened to him, and in no way, shape, or form am I asking you to critique anything that happened that day, but just in general, what the vest came from that, and there's so many safety precautions and measures that kind of came. I know there's been several deaths in the arena, but obviously that was the most high profile.
Right.
What do you think that has done for the sport of bullfighting, cowboy protection, things like that?
Well, I think two really good things that came from it. One is obviously the vest. Vests have saved countless lives. You can still die in the sport of bull riding, and everybody who signs up for it knows it. You can still die as a bullfighter. Yeah. Everybody who signs up for it knows that's part of it. But the risks just go down more and more by the advancements of the helmets and the vests and things like that. But the other thing I think it did is I think it made our sport a lot more mainstream. Yeah. Lane's death was one of the biggest things in the news at that time, which was incredibly huge. It was a big deal. 8 Seconds comes out to tell the story of Lane, and though it wasn't exactly told the way some people would have wanted it to, because it is such a hit that it brings so much attention to the sport.
Yeah.
Obviously, if things could be different, I would have two people that aren't here that I never got to meet that I wish I could, Lane Frost and Rex Dunn. Yeah. And, so obviously if things could be different, I wish they could be around so I could meet them. Yeah. But, in that, how many people decided they wanted to be a bull rider just because they got to see the movie 8 Seconds? How many people decided they wanted to go watch a bull riding just so we could watch 8 Seconds? That's a big part of it, getting people to go watch so that way the rest of us can make a profit doing it, because as much as I love this sport, you can't do it free. Yeah. So, I think that's a really big part of it, Not that you can ever try to make light of something like that, but, it made it such a mainstream thing. Everybody who's anybody knows who Lane Frost is. Yeah. And there's been a lot of guys who were really good that didn't have that tragedy happen. And so they're not going to be known like Lane will be. Yeah. So, and I think, if I could go out, I want to go, that'd be a pretty dang cool way to go. Doing exactly what you love, right in the middle of it. I know I'm saved. I know I'm going to heaven. So why not? Yeah. If I could pick, as long as it's quick and painless.
In your sport, I don't know that can
I don't know if it can be.
What about, so you're 23, 24, 23. You're relatively young in your career, started in 2018. What are some goals and some things you have in your plans in your future?
Well, I want to compete at the California Rodeo Salinas. I think it's the biggest freestyle in the world. I want to compete there. I think I've been pretty close to going a couple times. The committee picks, obviously I don't know, but judging by some of the people who've made it, I think I've been up for consideration. Yeah. So I hope one day to go there. I hope that I hope one day I can make the national finals rodeo. I just got my
Heck
PRCA card and my PBR card last year.
Yeah.
So I'd love to make the NFR. I'd love to make the PBR World Finals. And those kind of things, like it'd be cool just to go once, I don't have to be Cody Webster. I don't have to go 10 times, but just to go and mark it off and feel like all of the accomplishments or all of the hard work has paid off, would be a huge deal. And my kind of big end game goal is I just want to do enough while I'm doing it that when I'm done, I can teach people how to do it the right way and have the credit to do it.
Yeah.
I already teach a lot of, like I said, I teach the schools at Sankey Rodeo schools, and I teach those rodeo Bible camps, and I think I run into that a lot where I'm wondering if I am qualified.
Yeah.
Because I really haven't done much compared to other guys in the business.
Yeah.
Had been extremely blessed, but haven't done what other guys have done. So I kind of struggle with that. Am I qualified to do this?
Yeah.
And so it would just be kind of a validation thing for me. Go out and get one of those big accomplishments, and then when I sit down and say, hey, all right, I'm going to teach this school, you're not just going to learn from Tucker Lane. You're, a big deal.
Yeah. No, that's a great mentality, dude. I've seen your career go so far, and I don't see that as long as you put your mind to it, I don't see there's any reason why you couldn't get there. So we actually have a number of fan questions here that I want to jump to real quick. Because again, we're at the Durant Pro Rodeo tonight, so we're probably all gonna head over there here pretty quick. So Salem asks, why did you never ride horses?
As
far as I'm gonna say, she probably is talking about bucking horses.
Well, it's one is pretty simple. When I was 9 is when my parents got me that horse, and that horse that I was talking about earlier. Later we found out this horse was blind and only saw shapes, so this is probably why. When I was riding this horse stood up and fell over backwards on top of me, and it didn't hurt me, but it darn sure scared the tar out of me. So I got back up, I rode her the rest of the day, because that's the rule: you get bucked off, you gotta get back on, right?
The
next day I was like, sell her, I'm done, never again.
Done.
And my parents are like, if we get rid of her, you're not gonna get another one. I was like, okay, and then they did, and then they were like my mom was always like, so you don't want another horse? No, I don't. And I've been on one horse in the last 10 years. And that one, they had to talk me into doing it at college. And it was literally kid broke. So, yeah, I don't trust a whole lot of horses. I put horses in 3 categories. You got bucking horses, broke horses, and barrel horses. And they're all terrifying.
They're all terrifying. That's awesome.
Fire-breathing dragons.
So Cecily asks, how are you so good at knowing how to get around bulls?
Well, to be honest with you, it's kind of common sense. All bullfighting is common sense, except the part that says you probably shouldn't do it. You take that part, you throw it away. The rest of it's easy. It's if the bull's on your left, you're gonna go to the right. If the bull's on the right, you're gonna go to the left. Or if it's a freestyle, I'm trying to look really fancy. Then if he's on the right, I'll fake to the right and go back left. And if he's on the left, I'll fake to the left, go back right. It's really simple. You can break it down super complicated and talk about their leads and all this other stuff, but you can just look at a bull and tell, okay, he's on my right side, so I'm gonna go to the left. It's pretty much that easy.
I gotcha. So how limited, and this is kind of a spin-off of that question, but when bulls are moving, because I've heard, stock contractors will say the same thing. They'll go in pens with bulls and they'll kind of move them around and different things like that. Obviously, they're not jumping out of the way, but at the same time, how much mobility does a bull have? If it is going right and you do, you're I'm going to go left, right? Is it that simple? How fast of change of direction do some of these bulls have? Some
more than others. What makes a bull pretty easy? What makes a bull good to fight? I don't want to say easy. What makes a bull good to fight is he's constantly going where you're at, not where you're going.
Okay.
So as long as he's chasing you and you're moving ahead, then you're fine. And you can move. We always say go to the bull. So you're moving in a tight angle, kind of a 45-degree angle, and then around in a tight circle. And that kind of keeps that bull maneuvering. And he's always going where you're at, so as long as you're moving out of the way, you'll be fine. Yeah. And then occasionally you'll find one who's seen a lot, so he knows a lot, kind of like the white bull that I had 2 weeks ago. That bull he was incredibly smart. So every time I started to go left, he would just drop his shoulder and change and cut me off. And he was going where I was going, not where I was at. So there were a lot of times that I would just have to stop really fast on a dime and let him go ahead and, things like that.
Gosh,
And,
that would blow my knee out.
Yeah, and so it was so like there are like he's the 1%. He's the exception.
I got you.
Most of the time a bull's just really good and he's going to where you are,
Sees
not
you,
where you're
goes
going.
after you.
And
Yeah.
so you can constantly stay ahead of him.
Cool. Miles and Mountains podcast asks, what made you go from Mountain Dew to being coached by the great Dusty Tuckness?
Well, I think that's a typo. One, I still do love Mountain Dew. I do indeed. But I did hire Weston Rakowski as my personal trainer while I was in college.
Very cool.
For a long time, I thought working out was just enough. And then, I was like, let me try this one time. And I hired Weston to be a personal trainer and realized that, if you want to take your game to the next level, you have to know how to train. Yeah. And working out and training aren't the same thing. Yeah. So, I think I did post on Instagram that I was working with Weston. And so I think he might have got Weston and Dusty confused. Yeah. But no, that was kind of something that, because I always worked out, maybe only here and there sometimes, because I'm a pretty in decent shape guy. Yeah. But then once I started working with Weston, I realized that training is not working out. It's intense. So.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Jalen asks, do you still practice with Dale Brisby?
Do I practice with Dale Brisby? No. The story behind that is whenever the UBF started, we all went out to Dale's house and had a freestyle there on the beach.
I gotcha.
And we all
beaches of Winnebago,
right? And we almost all got murdered that weekend because we were told fresh bulls, so which we assumed calves, 2 and 3 year old bulls, and he showed up with these 6-year-old 1,400-pound bulls. That the first guy out broke his arm, went to the hospital. Oh gosh. It was I think there were 12 guys out that day. I think 8 of them got hooked, including myself. But I always get hooked, so it's fine. But no, I don't practice at Dale's anymore. I am still friends with Dale Brisby. He always gives me crap because I'm the Lane Frost guy. But but yes.
That's funny. Does he try to claim he's a better bull rider than Lane, or does he actually leave that one alone?
I've never heard him. Never heard him make that claim, but I'm sure that will be a write-off in heaven one day.
Darcy asks, what is your biggest career goal?
It's got to be the yellow buck and shoots. I'd love to win a freestyle world championship. It would be awesome. Yeah. But that wouldn't mean near to me what going to the yellow shoots is. Yeah. And just watching Rodeo go last year was a huge inspiration because he's a guy like me. He doesn't live in the bullfighter area. He doesn't he's not in this. He didn't have this master who proteged him and everything else like that. He was just a guy who just loved fighting bulls, worked really hard at it, went and did the Tough Hedeman tour, went and made his name for himself, went and did the freestyles, backflipped over a couple bulls, and then next thing you know, he's at the NFR. And it was because he did it, I know I can, and it was so cool. So
yeah, no, Bryce is a good buddy of mine. He's great.
Yeah,
so he was one of our first podcasts in 2020 at the NFR, and I had him on because I'm knew him through Tough Hedeman events and all that, and I asked him what's your goal, and he said NFR, and then so he got to do that, which was pretty amazing.
It was incredible. I remember when we were waiting for the votes to come out, and it was like, man, I think Redo's gonna go, and everyone was like, I don't know, but when he made it, it was like
so cool.
He is living proof. If you just work your butt off, it can happen.
That's so cool. Yeah. Shout out Bryce for sure, man. So Patrick asks this last question. He says, "Who are you cheering for tonight at the Durant Pro Rodeo?"
I gotta be honest, I don't know who's out.
Trey's out.
Oh, there you go.
For Trey Holster.
Yeah, that was true. He was another guy I high school rodeoed with, believe it or not. But no, I just hope they ride a few. Yeah, I've been going to some pro rodeos lately, and they ride one. I would just I'll cheer for everyone in the bull ride tonight. I would like to see everybody.
It's pretty loaded. Jeff Askey, Dustin Boquette.
Heck yeah, Trey. A lot of NFR guys.
Yeah, we got some NFR guys
cool.
out.
Well, I just hope.
I think Trey Kimsey too.
I hope they all ride one. Honestly, I would rather watch every single person ride one and nobody fall off, and it'd be like one of those shows, than watch everybody fall off, and then the bullfighters are like, well, the show sucked. Let me get hooked so people come back tomorrow, because that happens.
Man. Thank you so much for being here, man. If y'all wouldn't mind, audience, We'd love to hear your feedback, and if you're enjoying what you hear through these podcasts, please make sure and comment or give a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Tucker, man, anything else you would like to say to your fans and fans of the sport?
Life's a garden. Dig it.
Simple enough. Man, again, Tucker, thank you so much for being here. I really, really enjoyed this. And again, thank you all for listening, and Lane Frost Brand for sponsoring these podcasts for 2023. Without that support, we couldn't do what we love doing for y'all. Make sure and go to lanefrost.com for merch and all things Lane Frost, along with their social media and other platforms. Use our code TDT15 for savings on your next purchase. Also, big thank you to Choctaw Casinos and Resorts for their hospitality. This is such an incredible place, just a short drive from the Metroplex. Food, fun, and games galore provide an awesome getaway. Choctaw, stay a while, play a while. Tucker, what are your social handles, and where can people follow along with what you have going on, man?
At Tucker Lane 13 on Instagram, and then it's Tucker Lane McWilliam on Facebook. I've got a TikTok too. I think it's Tucker Lane. Post some highlights on there sometimes. But Instagram, you can see everything. I post anything and everything, unless it's like a bad hooking, and then I wait for somebody else to post it.
Yeah. Well, y'all can find some of those out there too. Also, follow along with us on social media at Tough Draw and at Tough Draw Talks for more episodes of our podcast as we continue to bring y'all closer to the rodeo community. Until next time, everyone, enjoy the ride.